They've lied to you from the very start. The greatest secret isn't hidden in some government vault or buried beneath ancient temples. It's right inside your own mind. For centuries, there's been a deliberate effort to keep this knowledge away from you because what it reveals could set you free in a way that threatens everything they've built. At the heart of this hidden truth is a tiny mysterious gland deep within your brain, the pineal gland. Ancient hermetic masters believed this was more than a biological structure. It was the gateway between this physical world and realms far beyond what your senses can normally perceive. They saw it as a bridge to higher states of consciousness that could transform how you experience reality. But you were never supposed to know this. So they surrounded it with ridicule, confusion, and fear. Because if you ever understood what the pineal gland could truly unlock, you'd become impossible to control. And that's what they fear most. For thousands of years, hermetic masters protected a truth so powerful, it was only shared in whispers among trusted initiates. They grasped something modern. Science is just now starting to glimpse that your pineal gland isn't just a sleepy organ buried in your brain, but a sacred key, a direct channel to dimensions beyond the physical senses. Sitting at the very center of the brain, this pine cone-shaped gland has been called the seat of the soul by philosophers and mystics for millennia. And for the Hermetics, this wasn't poetic language. It was a real map to something extraordinary. They taught that the pineal gland was designed to let humans access levels of awareness far beyond ordinary perception, connecting directly to universal intelligence itself. But this knowledge was never meant for everyone. The Hermetic teachings weren't scribbled down for casual readers or armchair philosophers. They were protected, passed down only to those who proved their readiness through discipline, integrity, and unwavering intention. These teachings held detailed methods for activating the pineal gland practices that could open gateways to mystical states, sharpen perception, and grant access to awareness that made a person immune to manipulation. This wasn't about religion or superstition. It was about liberation, total sovereignty of your own mind. The core of the Hermetic path is as above, so below. It's the idea that the universe is a perfect mirror of itself on every level, and that the grand cosmic dance happening in the stars is reflected inside your own body. The pineal gland, they believed, was the bridge that connected these two realms, a receiver and transmitter of energy and consciousness that lets you directly interact with the very fabric of reality. And this is exactly why that knowledge had to be buried. When people awaken to their own innate power, they become ungovernable. They stop bowing to external authority. They stop chasing empty distractions, fearing made-up threats, or submitting to arbitrary systems of control. As religious empires rose and political power centralized, Hermetic wisdom was forced underground. The ancient method for activating the pineal gland was branded as cultish, absurd, or dangerous nonsense. Ridicule was used as a weapon. Fear was used as a shield. Anyone who explored this knowledge risked being labeled a lunatic, a heretic, or worse. They couldn't allow you to discover that ultimate freedom wasn't something given by governments, religions, or gurus. It was something already inside you. And that's why this knowledge still isn't openly taught today. Even modern science, for all its discoveries, sticks to a narrow story. They'll tell you the pineal gland's only job is regulating melatonin and sleep. That's a convenient story, ignoring countless ancient traditions pointing to its far greater purpose. But cracks are starting to form in the old narrative. Some modern researchers have stumbled onto hints they can't explain, like how this tiny gland might produce powerful neurochemicals linked to extraordinary states of consciousness. What the Hermetic initiates discovered through disciplined inner work, modern science is only beginning to validate. Of course, some of what we're discussing right now can't even be fully explored on platforms like YouTube. That's why we dive deeper in our Free Insights Academy newsletter. There's a link in the description, and when you sign up, you'll also get a free copy of the Chameleon for a limited time. The forbidden method the Hermetics guarded involves a precise combination of breathwork, visualization, frequency, alignment, and unwavering focus. These aren't casual meditations or manifesting wish lists. They're disciplined practices honed over centuries to systematically awaken parts of your consciousness that lie dormant. Hermetic teachings say consciousness isn't confined inside your skull. It's a limitless field, expansive beyond space and time. And the pineal gland is the key to accessing that field. Once activated, initiates describe profound experiences, visions beyond linear time, encounters with higher forms of intelligence, and an overwhelming sense of unity with all that exists. But unlike today's pop spiritual trends, promising instant results with zero effort, the hermetic path required serious discipline. It demanded a complete restructuring of your mindset, a purification of your inner world, before the doors of higher perception could safely open. This wasn't about curiosity alone. It was about responsibility. Because once you step through these gateways, there's no going back. And yet today, this approach is buried under layers of cynicism, cheap distractions, and spiritual counterfeits. We're told to mock these ideas to fear them, or to write them off as superstition. Meanwhile, we're pushed deeper into cycles of consumption and obedience, never asking why the door to higher awareness stays shut. Here's the truth: the door has never been locked from the outside. It's been waiting inside you all along. For centuries, the idea that your pineal gland could unlock higher states of awareness was brushed aside as mystical nonsense, something only dusty old texts or secretive orders would talk about. But as science inches forward, cracks are appearing in that dismissive wall. And every crack reveals something that terrifies those who've worked so hard to keep this knowledge buried: the possibility that consciousness is far deeper, far stranger, and far more powerful than we were ever led to believe. Modern neuroscience still frames the pineal gland as a kind of biological clock regulating your sleep with melatonin. That's true, but it's only the surface layer. When you look closer, things get unsettling for the status quo. For instance, the pineal gland sits right at the geometric center of your brain, surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid, and receives more blood flow than almost any other part of your body. Why? Some researchers think it's perfectly positioned to interact with electromagnetic fields we know affect every part of your biology. Even more fascinating, the gland contains tiny calcite crystals with piezoelectric properties. That means they generate electrical charges when exposed to pressure or changes in frequency. That's not speculative theory, it's measurable science. The Hermetic masters didn't have the vocabulary of modern physics, but their methods, breathwork, sound, and focused intent were designed to activate exactly these properties in the pineal gland. They were using ancient language to describe what we now understand as real bioelectrical phenomena. Frequency is an invisible force modern science is only beginning to truly appreciate. Sound waves, electromagnetic signals, and even the oscillations of your brain waves carry frequencies that directly impact your mental and emotional state. Hermetics understood this at a level that still challenges most people today. By introducing specific frequencies through chanting, breath control, or certain meditative tones, they shifted the brain's state into resonance with higher vibrational planes. And this resonance wasn't some poetic metaphor, it was a physical interaction. Brainwave patterns would shift, syncing into new rhythms, and the pineal gland would start to activate like an antenna, tuning into a signal that's been there all along, but drowned out by the noise of daily life. Then there's the chemical piece of the puzzle. Studies now suggest the pineal gland might be capable of producing endogenous dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, a molecule often linked with near-death experiences, powerful visions, and feelings of unity with the universe. People who've experienced states like these, whether spontaneously or through the Hermetic method, report similar themes: leaving the body, seeing vivid light or geometric patterns, meeting benevolent entities, or feeling an overwhelming sense of oneness. What's astonishing is that the Hermetic method, combining intentional breath visualization and frequency, appears to create the exact internal environment where this DMT might release naturally, no external substances required. That means it's possible to access these powerful expanded states of awareness through disciplined inner work alone. Meanwhile, modern theories like the holographic universe or non-local consciousness are proposing that our minds might not be confined to our skulls at all. These ideas suggest we tap into a vast field of information that exists beyond the limits of our physical bodies, a concept the Hermetics described centuries ago. They taught that the pineal gland doesn't generate consciousness, it tunes into it. It's like a cosmic radio receiver adjusting its frequency to pick up different layers of reality. The more stable and coherent your inner frequency becomes, the deeper your access to this field. But even as more scientists flirt with these ideas, research into the pineal gland remains controversial. Why? Because if we accept that consciousness isn't just a side effect of brain chemistry, Everything we're taught about reality and the systems that profit from our disconnection starts to crumble. A society of people who know their minds can expand far beyond physical senses wouldn't fear manufactured crises. They wouldn't live for empty status or mindless consumption. They'd see the game for what it is, and they'd stop playing by its rules. This is why the forbidden hermetic method isn't a superstition or a fairy tale. It's a precise, reproducible practice that uses breath, sound, and focus to align the mind and body, unlocking levels of perception that most people can't even imagine. Modern brain imaging shows how deep meditation can literally rewire your brain, increasing connectivity in areas tied to empathy, intuition, and higher awareness. Breathwork, once dismissed as hippie nonsense, is now scientifically proven to regulate your nervous system, harmonize your heart rate, and even alter your genetic expression. Science is finally catching up to what Hermetics knew centuries ago. But don't expect these dots to be connected publicly anytime soon. The implications are too disruptive for a system that needs you to stay small. Because at its core, the forbidden Hermetic method isn't about faith in magical thinking. It's about understanding how your physiology and consciousness are deeply intertwined and how vibration, breath, and intention can shift your brain and body into states that reveal a reality far beyond what you've been conditioned to accept. The Hermetic masters didn't stumble on these practices by accident. They refined them through direct experience, generation after generation, until they could reliably guide others to these extraordinary states. And they knew the pineal gland wasn't just an organ to study. It was the key to a doorway that, once opened, would forever change how you see yourself and the world around you. So you have to wonder if the Hermetics mapped a reliable path to awaken your full potential. Why isn't it taught everywhere? Why do we learn trigonometry and the names of medieval kings in school, but nothing about this? Why don't governments or corporations support it if they claim to care about human progress? The answer is brutally simple: an awakened mind is ungovernable. A population aware of its own power doesn't bow to false authorities. It doesn't chase empty distractions. It doesn't submit to control systems designed to keep it afraid and obedient. That's why the knowledge wasn't accidentally lost, it was deliberately buried. And why even today, as you listen to this, you may feel a subtle resistance inside a quiet voice saying, "This can't be real." That hesitation was programmed into you precisely to keep you from ever stepping beyond the mental cage they've built. That subtle hesitation you feel when you hear these ideas, that quiet voice of doubt, it's not your intuition warning you away. It's a residue of the system's conditioning. It's the echo of every time you were told to just follow the rules, every time you were rewarded for staying silent, every time you saw someone mocked or punished for thinking differently. And recognizing that resistance is the first step to breaking free. Because once you see how deep the programming goes, you start to realize the real prison was never physical. It's not a set of bars or locked doors. It's the layers of unexamined beliefs, unconscious fears, and inherited scripts that keep you chasing approval, fearing rejection, and doubting your own potential. The forbidden Hermetic method is so dangerous to the system, not because it calls for rebellion or violence, but because it makes you sovereign. It shows you that everything you seek, wisdom, peace, fulfillment, has always been within you, waiting to be activated. That's a truth more revolutionary than any protest or uprising. Because once enough people wake up to it, the entire illusion of control collapses under its own weight. This is why the Hermetic path wasn't shared widely. Not because it's elitist or meant to exclude, but because it demands real courage. Awakening isn't glamorous, it's raw. It forces you to see yourself clearly without the comforting lies you've clung to. It reveals where you've given your power away, where you've traded your dreams for safety, your curiosity for certainty, your authenticity for approval. Most people turn back when they reach this point. They feel the discomfort and retreat into the familiar patterns of distraction, consumption, and conformity. But those who press on, who face the uncomfortable truths with open eyes, discover something priceless. The realization that you are not broken and never were. That you are not here just to survive, but to expand into the full expression of who you are. That expansion isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong process of peeling away layers of programming, of choosing presence over autopilot, of returning again and again to your own direct experience instead of blindly trusting external authorities. It's in these moments when you pause, breathe, and tune into your inner knowing that you begin to remember the power that has always been yours. The hermetic method offers a structured, disciplined way to cultivate this remembering. It starts with breath work, which calms the nervous system and quiets the reactive mind. Then it guides you through frequency alignment using sound or visualization to tune your inner state like an instrument. Finally, it trains your focus, sharpening your intention so you can direct your awareness with precision. Together, these practices create a state where the pineal gland's potential can awaken, where consciousness shifts out of the narrow band of survival thinking and into the expanded awareness of your true nature. And from that place, you begin to see reality as it really is, not as you've been told it must be. What changes when you start living from this awakened state? Everything. The anxiety that once consumed you loses its grip. The desperate need for validation fades. The constant sense of something missing dissolves. Instead, a quiet confidence emerges, rooted not in arrogance, but in the unshakable knowing that you are part of something vast, intelligent, and loving. You begin to sense the energy behind words, the intentions behind actions, the unspoken truths in every situation. You feel more connected, not just to people, but to life itself. The patterns of synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences you use to dismiss, become so common they feel like a new language, one you're finally learning to read. And with that shift, your priorities change. You stop striving for empty goals defined by others. You start choosing what genuinely nourishes your soul. You find joy in the simplest moments. You move through the world with a sense of freedom and trust that once seemed impossible. That's the power the Hermetic masters preserved for thousands of years. Not power over others, but power over yourself. The ability to shape your reality from the inside out, to walk through the world awake while so many remain asleep. And that's precisely why this knowledge was hidden, ridiculed, and buried under generations of fear and misinformation. Because a person who knows they are free cannot be controlled. So the question isn't whether this path works. It's whether you're ready to walk it. Ready to let go of what's comfortable but false in exchange for what's real but demanding. Ready to step beyond the stories you inherited and discover the truth for yourself. If you feel something stirring inside you right now, a sense of recognition, a quiet yes, don't ignore it. That's your own consciousness responding, remembering, and calling you forward. And the beauty of this path is that it doesn't require permission, approval, or external validation. It begins the moment you decide it does. The first steps can be small: observing your breath, questioning your automatic reactions, spending time each day in intentional silence. Over time, these simple acts begin to dissolve the fog of conditioning, revealing the vast potential that's been inside you all along. And when you're ready to go deeper, to learn the practices refined over millennia, to unlock the full power of your pineal gland, and awaken the higher states of consciousness that await you, know that the path is still here. It's never been lost, only hidden. If this message resonates with you, let it anchor something deeper by commenting below, "I choose to awaken." By sharing those words, you send a signal to the field and to others on this journey that you're ready to claim what's always been yours. And if you want to go beyond what's possible to share on YouTube, check the first pinned comment for a link to our free Insights Academy newsletter. You'll receive uncensored, deeper teachings and a free copy of the Kabbalion to guide your next steps. Remember, the greatest secret isn't out there in some vault or ancient ruin. It's right here inside you, waiting for you to remember.